A cold wind pressed against the cracked windows of Miller's diner as the sun struggled to rise behind a blanket of gray clouds. It was the kind of morning that felt heavy, like life had forgotten to give it color. Inside, the smell of burnt coffee and buttered toast floated through the empty booths. At the far corner, near the window nobody chose unless they had nowhere else to sit, an old woman arrived. She came every morning, always alone, always quiet, and always wearing the same long black coat and a silver brooch shaped like a feather. She carried sadness in her eyes like someone who once had everything, then lost it without warning. Her name was Eleanor Hayes. And every morning, she sat in the same booth. And every morning, one person noticed her. Her name was Mara Weaver, a young waitress barely getting by, but still managing to smile at everyone, no matter how heavy life became. Mara wasn't like the other waitresses. Most came for a paycheck, but Mara came for something else, maybe a reason to keep believing that people could still be good. She had learned early in life that the world doesn't hand out blessings easily. She grew up with little, lost her parents young, struggled through foster homes, and now, at 26, she survived on tips that barely paid for rent. But she had a heart that refused to break. And every day, when she looked at Eleanor sitting alone with trembling hands, something inside Mara knew, this woman needed kindness more than coffee. Before we go deeper, if you believe kindness still exists in this world, if you believe small acts can change lives, then please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Kindness Corner, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Your support helps us spread more stories that heal the world. Mara first noticed Eleanor 2 months ago. The old woman never ordered more than tea and dry toast. She counted coins one by one from an old purse and her hands shook as though they carried the weight of years no one else could see. Most customers ignored her, some pitied her, but nobody spoke to her. Mara wasn't sure why, but she felt drawn to Eleanor, not out of curiosity, but compassion. There was something about the old woman's loneliness that reminded Mara of her own reflection during the nights she cried quietly in her small apartment. So Mara began to help her. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, gently. She brought Eleanor warm toast instead of cold. She refilled her tea without charging. Sometimes she slipped an extra muffin onto her plate. At first Eleanor tried to refuse, embarrassed, but Mara always smiled and said it was a diner promotion or cook special. They both knew it wasn't true, but neither of them said it out loud. Day after day, their unspoken friendship grew. Mara learned Eleanor loved reading by lamplight, that she once lived near the ocean, and that she used to smile a lot. Eleanor, on the other hand, learned that Mara worked double shifts because she had no family to help her, that she walked home to save money because her car died months ago, and that despite everything, Mara believed kindness always came back one day. But Eleanor never spoke about her past, about who she was, or what she once had. It was as if she had erased entire chapters of her life. Then one morning, Mara found Eleanor sitting at her booth with red eyes. She had been crying. When Mara gently asked if she was all right, Eleanor finally whispered something unexpectedly painful: she had nowhere to live anymore. She had been evicted from her apartment and didn't know where she would go. That night, she said softly, she would sleep in an old bus station. Mara didn't even think, she reached over and held Eleanor's hand. Something inside her broke. She didn't have extra money, didn't have savings, didn't even have a car, but she couldn't let this woman disappear into the cold. That evening after work, Mara walked Eleanor home, not to a bus station, but to her own apartment. She cleared space, gave Eleanor her own bed, and slept on the couch. For the next week, she shared her food, washed Eleanor's clothes, and helped her search for assistance programs. Eleanor had tears in her eyes more than once. She kept asking why Mara was doing this. Mara only answered, because no one helped me when I needed it. But I survived because I believed someone would someday. One morning a week later, Eleanor didn't come to the diner. Mara grew worried. The next day, still no Eleanor. On the third day, panic began crawling under her skin. She rushed home after her shift, only to find Eleanor gone. Her room was empty, the bed neatly made, but there was a note on the pillow. "Thank you for giving me back hope. Eleanor." No address. No explanation. Nothing. Mara stared at the note and felt a crushing ache. She didn't know why it hurt so much. Eleanor had walked out of her life as suddenly as she had walked in. Mara feared something bad had happened to her. She called hospitals, shelters, no one had seen her. Weeks passed. Then a month. And one quiet afternoon, everything changed. It was a slow Tuesday morning at the diner. Mara was wiping tables when a convoy of black SUVs pulled up outside. Four men in suits stepped out, clearly bodyguards. The entire diner fell silent as they walked inside. Behind them came two lawyers in tailored coats. They looked around the diner like they were searching for someone. "Who are they looking for?" a cook whispered. "Trouble," another muttered. Then one lawyer stepped forward and asked, "Is there a Mara Weaver here?" Mara froze. The entire diner looked at her. "Yes," she said cautiously. "That's me." "Miss Weaver," the lawyer said calmly, "we've been instructed to bring you with us." Mara's heart pounded. "Why? What happened?" "You will understand shortly. Please, come with us." Fear twisted inside her, but something deeper, like a strange pull of fate, made her follow them. The SUV door closed behind her, and in minutes, they were driving through the wealthiest part of town. Gated estates, security cameras, perfectly manicured lawns, it was another world. They stopped at a massive mansion surrounded by tall trees and silence. One of the bodyguards opened the door as if Mara were royalty. Inside, soft piano music echoed faintly through the grand halls. The lawyers led her to a room where enormous windows revealed a snow-covered garden. In the center of the room sat Eleanor Hayes, wearing a beautiful lavender dress, her hair neatly styled, her eyes bright. Mara gasped. Eleanor smiled and said gently, "Hello, dear." Everything froze. Mara stumbled forward. She was overwhelmed, relieved, confused, and emotional all at once. Eleanor explained everything. She was not a poor homeless widow. She was the sole heir to Hayes International, one of the largest private investment firms in the country. She had more wealth than she ever wanted, but she lost her husband and her only son in a tragic accident 2 years ago. The grief consumed her. She disappeared from her company and from public life. She walked away from everything: money, power, responsibility. She wanted to know, did kindness still exist in the world, or was it something money had only pretended to buy for her? So, she vanished and lived like a nobody. That's when she met Mara, someone who didn't know who she was. Someone who didn't want anything from her. Someone who shared everything she had, even when she had almost nothing. Eleanor reached out and held Mara's hands just as Mara had once held hers. Then she said something that changed Mara's life forever. "I do not need a maid. I do not need a nurse. I need a heart I can trust. I want you by my side, Mara, not as an employee, but as family. If you accept, everything I have will one day be yours, not because of blood, but because of love." You reminded me why life is still worth living. Mara stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. For years, she felt alone in this world, but in that moment, she realized something beautiful: you never know who you are meant to meet, whose life you might change, or who might change yours. They embraced like two souls who had found each other in a universe of loneliness. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Share it with someone who believes that kindness still matters. Your support helps keep stories of hope alive. Before I end, I want to ask you, what do you think is the most powerful act of kindness a human being can give? Comment below, I'll be reading every single one. Because sometimes, all it takes is one act of kindness to turn a stranger into family, to turn loneliness into love, and to remind us that no one is ever truly forgotten.